Hello everybody, and welcome to another exciting, hairy, fun-filled, expeditious episode of Radiorama, where, as the name implies, I show you how to work on radios and other stuff like televisions and stereos and record players. And today we have a General Electric Musaphonic table set. Musaphonic was kind of like this name brand that General Electric used on some of their more high fidelity type units, and this one is got a pretty large speaker for a plastic table set, and of course a helicopter is going right overhead when I'm trying to do this. Alright, keep going, helicopter. Anyway, you can see this speaker is probably a 6-inch speaker. That's a lot better than your regular All-American 5 set where you have maybe a 4.5-inch speaker. It's been a while since I worked on this. I don't think there's anything that remarkable about it. It's a typical, I think, a 5-tube design. Let's see. No, I'm wrong. It's actually a 6-tube design. It looks like we have an extra 12 BA6, so that's just going to give you a little more sensitivity. 35C5 for the output, and I'm just looking through here. It's hard to see, but it looks like we got 3 gangs on the tuning condenser, so it's just a little bit of a nicer set. It does not work. I tried it and all I got was a mild hum, which is atypical for sets of this vintage, and the electrolytic capacitors are probably shot. This is also one of, I usually put off working on General Electrics from this era because they start to get annoying. This is an early PC board design where it's kind of like a hybrid. You got a metal support for the phenolic material, and everything is kind of like daisy chained onto that board. Of course, a lot of companies started doing that because it's cheaper to manufacture. You just stick all the components on a board and then solder flow everything on in a cascade. So let's go ahead and take this thing out. It looks like there's 4 screws holding it together. I believe the speaker, if I remember correctly, is actually attached to the front of the case. Actually, I think there's some, I remember vaguely thinking this was kind of a pain in the butt to work on. I'm sure I'll find out real soon why I felt that way. Pull the knobs off. Jesus, stuck on there. I'm trying to do it one-handed. Okay, I can't do this one-handed. I'm going to pull it off with both hands. Alright, so I was right. Yes, the speaker is kind of sandwiched in here. It's a pretty big speaker. I know they use this same speaker in some of their lower end record players. This also has the annoying plug-in IF transformers, and I know that this era of General Electric, they tend to get silver mica disease real easily, and it looks like someone's already replaced not one but both of these. It's a Miller transformer. It's an aftermarket piece. You would not see that in the original set, and it looks like that tube right there, you see all that crap in the top? That looks like it's gone to gas. It's a 50C5. That's fine. You can usually put a 50C5 in place of a 35W or a 35C5. There are 4 screws that hold the chassis together. So let's take the chassis apart and see what's going on. Whether or not it's all original or whether it's been worked on. I get a sneaking suspicion it's not working is because of that gassy appearing tube. I know this makes for like super boring YouTube videos, but if you want to see how to do it, this is more or less what you got to do. Alright. What we've got here Oh boy, it's definitely all original, and unforeseen situation that the engineers probably didn't foresee. You can see this is the original electrolytic capacitor. There are two values inside, and you know it's been crimped in here for decades, and what happens is that it just physically compresses and squishes the electrolytic, and that's not a good thing. That means all the layers of foil and everything have been squished together, and that can cause it to short out. Got a whole bunch of bumblebee caps in here, these plastic guys. They're just as prone, if not more prone, to fail. It's just Bakelite with paper caps inside, and if there's even the teeniest amount of leakage, like if any moisture gets in there, they tend to explode. I'm looking for the the line cap that goes from one end of the power cord to chassis, and I remember it's this guy, so we've got it going off of the center of this tube socket, and that goes down to the chassis underneath here. But the first thing that we want to do is replace these. There's, like I said, there's two values inside, and it should be imprinted on the side as far as what is what. Oh, it's not being easy. Shit, dropped the phone. "100 microfarads and 50 microfarads. Red is the higher value, yellow is the lower." Because that makes sense. And our common ground is that guy right here. Let me take a look at the bottom plate. So what I'm going to have to do is hang the new values. One will go here for the positive of the electrolytic, and then the other one, that's why I hate this design. They basically poked holes through the PC board, and sometimes you have to tie new components around leads that are sticking out through those holes. Yuck. I hate this area of wiring too. It's got sticky crud all over it. It's like honey almost. Okay, so I've done the bare minimum to test this guy. I replaced both these electrolytics. And you see I just hang them off the leads coming off of the tubes. And then I put the safety cap in, because you see that's definitely going the chassis ground. And I took one look at the output tube, and it definitely looked very sick. That color's not good. I mean, it's got a gas. Excuse me, my allergies are acting up. Anyway, let's go ahead and run it through my isolation transformer. And we got pilot. And I know this thing's weird. One side of the volume knob is turning the radio on and off, and the other is for the control of the phonograph input. Not really hearing anything. That's never a good sign. Ow, Jesus! That shot scared the crap out of me.
Silicon Valley Insider fans, you've listened to Keith Koo for 5 seasons discussing disruption and innovation. But did you know his passion is in advising and mentoring tech?
This tuning condenser is frozen. It's like really stiff. I can barely turn it. Let's see. Get some juice into the tuning condenser bearings. I think it's also this. Let's get a little in there. There, that'll work in. You don't want to get it anywhere near the string.
The World Wide Web. Our amazing team of media strategists are a small group of senators who are trying to come up with a bipartisan
Deals with any situation. Bay Area.
It works. Got some dirt that's in the tuning condensers making it crackle like that. Comes the ducks again. They've been visiting me every day. Silly ducks. Alright, so I've done what I want to do as far as first step. This is a boring cabinet, so it's going to get a new paint job, and it's nice and warm. So I want to try to get at least one coat on today. Well, I was unpleasantly reminded why I didn't like working on this one last time. This is in the era when General Electric started doing all kinds of stupid corner cutting things. And so, for example, this plastic dowel face is basically welded into the plastic. And last time I tried to remove it by a soldering iron, it made this disgusting, stinky mess. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mask this off with some masking tape. I'm going to do a dual color paint job on this thing. What I'm going to do is have basically a cream face. The body will be red. And this is the grill cover. It's amazing. Usually these guys are broken. But I've got some missing paint here. I wouldn't mind maybe painting this. See if I've got some gold sitting around. If not, I'll choose a highlighting color. But yeah, I need to mask this off. And I'm going to hope the spray paint works. I've been having an issue with newer spray paint where the stuff just doesn't settle right. I'm not sure if it's because of new air quality regulations or what, but something's definitely changed in the last 2 years. Okay, we're ready for paint. I masked off the front. And also importantly, mask off the inside, because you know overspray is going to go through all these holes and you don't want it to come around and get the back of the glass or the plastic lens or whatever. Let's make sure everything's now buttoned down. I've been shaking the crap out of this spray can. I'm wondering maybe if the newer formulations are not mixing as well. I don't know. Let's see. That's flowing good. Ordinarily I don't do this because I always wear a respirator, but the wind is blowing completely away. So maybe I can show you how to do this. I've never shown anyone how to paint in a YouTube video, and this may wind up being a failure, but we'll see. The idea is you want to get big, wide, broad paint strokes, and don't stop on the piece, because what will happen if you stop, then you'll put more paint in one area and you'll get an uneven appearing finish. So again, just broad. I say broad strokes as the paint comes out of the can in a lame way. Let's see. Fucking hell. I'm so tired of shitty spray paint. Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah, it's like the nozzle's messed up. Let me see if I can replace the nozzle. Luckily I had another nozzle. That is the way it's supposed to come out. You know, just nice and even. And again, you know, I'm not really stopping anywhere. You want to keep going. I realize I'm not even filming it. Sorry, guys. But, you know, just big, broad, bodacious strokes. I feel like I should say something clever in sort of a Bob Ross kind of way, and I know I'm not doing a good job of explaining this, but this is generally the dealio of what you want. Luckily, red going over white is a lot easier than going over, say, a dark color. It just, you know, really fills it in nicely. Let's take a look on the side here. It's a little uneven. Again, you don't want to stop anywhere. You just want to kind of work your way around the piece looking for inconsistencies, maybe areas that are not as glossy. Make sure and get the back too, because someone's going to see that. Now, I'm going to go over this a little bit more, and then I need to get the bottom. Now, the bottom doesn't have to be got as, you know, thoroughly as the top and the sides that are going to show, but you know, you want to try to give the illusion of, you know, believable possibilities. Like, I don't think this actually came in a red, but if it did, what would it look like? And so that's what I'm trying to do here. Now let's flip this over on its back. And let's get the bottom out. I try not to completely soak the tube labels. Sometimes it's hard not to. There. The bottom does not need to be perfect. Like, no one's going to flip it over and look. So again, I'm going around. Do we have any runs? Don't think we do. Flip it back over. Maybe do one more coat. And then we'll call it good. I do things exactly how you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to use a primer, and I don't do that. A lot of this newer spray paint is made for plastics. All right, that's looking pretty spiffy. Yeah, I don't see any runs or anything. We might be good, so I'm gonna pray to the spray paint gods that it doesn't do its fucked up crinkling shit that some of the newer stuff's been doing. All right, so it's time to resume recapping. Replace these two guys. These are .047s, microfarads. This one I believe is 1/10 of a microfarad if I'm reading. I think that's a red. So it's basically 10,000,000. So 10,000 picofarads, 1/10 of a microfarad. I'll have to look up the code on this one. I can't remember what that is. It's probably, this looks like a tone control board because you've got it going off the tone control. I think it is. Sure seems like it. I mean, why also would it go to the center tap of the tone control? Where's this black wire go? Ah, yeah. See, this whole thing is associated with tone. So it's probably pretty critical to get those values right, unless you want to make it sound too tinny or too bassy. All right, so we got the rest of this thing recapped. Wasn't too much of an effort. Test it to make sure everything still works. I'm upside down here. I can't remember which one is radio or phono. I think it's radio that way. Like I said, it's a double-ended switch. So one end goes to phono, the other goes to radio. This thing takes a lot of time to warm up. My pilot lamp is still just...
Thanks for inviting me to your ultimate tailgate. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Sounds really muffled, obviously, because I have that facing downwards. But we got a lot of dirt and crap in the tuning condenser, so we need to clean that out. All right, so what we want to do is clean out these tuning condenser fins. What I do is I take a business card and I cut maybe into thirds, and I use these little strips just to get in between there. The Museum of Volunteer sent me a carton of like 500 business cards, which I won't give out in probably 10 lifetimes, but they sure make good tools for cleaning out these fins. Maybe follow up with a little toothbrush action here. Make sure and turn it all the way through. Sometimes all it takes is just the tiniest amount of debris to cause you to lose contact between the plates and cause a short. I feel more confident in that now. Let's try it out. Oof. All right, there we go. Blast off. Guess I need to put this back on the thingamabob here. There. I don't know why the damn thing takes so long to warm up. It's ridiculous. That's much better.
a gallon in 10 states. A small group of senators is going over options for gun safety.
You're J. Christian Adams.
Yes, it's on.
As a consumer, maybe you had a consumer protection attorney, or maybe it was a different attorney that you used. But
We pray the rosary on.
Much better shape now. I'm pretty happy with that reception, and we've cleared up all the dust bunnies that were in that tuning condenser. It's been about 45 minutes since I painted the set, and now it's the truth. Usually in about an hour. If the paint's going to do something funny, it'll do it. This looks really good, actually. See, it's interesting because this is plain old ordinary Rust-Oleum. The stuff I've been having issues with is the stuff that says, like, 2 coats in 1. Let me feel the underside. Let me see what kind of... It's very tacky. I'm going to leave it alone. I'll probably peel this off tomorrow, maybe the end of the night. Who knows? Check this out. I was oiling this. Not sure it just shows it. Look how much wear is on that. That's from years of doing that. The other thing I noticed is that literally every single one of the tubes in this thing is completely a different brand, different genre and everything. So I think this thing is a very, very heavy hour used set. So it's been around the block a lot. So I know, General Electric, I usually like to bash them, but hey, this thing seems like it's a survivor. Welcome to day 2 working on the General Electric Musaphonic radio. And I've had this sitting in the hot, blistering sun all day long. Because the idea is I want to bake that finish on real good. The only thing I'm a little bit pissed about, and it bothers me just a little bit, and there's nothing I can do about it, I did get a tiny amount of overspray inside there. It's not easy to see, you kind of have to look at it from an angle, so I'm just going to have to be okay with it, because that's it. But this is what you want for a finish. You don't want it to look like it was spray painted, because that just looks cheap. You want a nice, even, glossy finish with no runs. Sometimes it takes a little more time to get used to doing it. I'm glad the paint worked out on this one. Let's go over to the chassis, because that is where the remainder of the work needs to happen. I'm going to add the oh so famous audio input, which on this sucker will be a lot easier because it already has one. And that's right here. That's the RCA input for phono. And what I'm going to do is run an isolation transformer between this input and the incoming audio cable. Because even though we now have a safety cap, which is going to reduce the amount of potential current that someone might feel if they touch this, I don't want them to feel a tingle when they're touching the audio cord. That's just not nice. So I'll get one of those audio isolation transformers out. What I might do is trace where this guy goes. Interesting. I'm guessing one. That's the volume pot. I'm assuming where is the radio signal coming in from? Oh, it's on the other side. I see. All right, so what I'm going to do is put the audio isolation transformer in this area here, so I can get it as close as I can to the source. And then we'll run a audio cable. Maybe like drill a hole through this, and it can come in and go through this hole down to the isolation transformer. All right, so I've installed the audio isolation transformer. And this is a double-ended volume pot. So this side is the radio side, this side is the audio input side. So I just had a brain fart. So anyway, this is how you do it. You have your right and left channels go through a pair of resistors. That goes to the secondary side of the isolation transformer. And this is a 120 volt to 12 volt. The secondary, which is this side, 12 volt, 120 volts this side. This is the primary, and they go to either end of the volume pot. So let us go ahead and try it out. Can't remember which side is radio and which side is audio input, but 50-50. Roll the dice. This thing does take a long time to warm up.
You know, unashamed.
All right, that's obviously radio. I'm going to wait for just a second. I notice this radio, when I turn it off and on, the pilot light pops a little bit. There. All right, we're cooking with Crisco now. Last thing I'm going to do is put a little glue over the top of that, just in case it were to somehow work itself loose. I don't want any of these connections touching anything. So then it's time to do some reassembly, which is going to be fun because this thing has 5,000 little parts. So I need to go back in, and hopefully I didn't forget where any of them or went or lose any of them. All right, now it's time to reassemble. And reassembling on a radio that's only been painted for 24 hours is tricky because the paint's still a little soft. So I'm going to assemble this in a way where I will minimize that risk. I'm going to put the speaker in as in the cover on, and then if I need to like set it on its front or something like that, which I don't think I need to, then I can, and I won't scratch up, you know, the paint in the front. So just going to be kind of careful and ginger. I went ahead and separated all my screws by size, so it'll be less confusing. I've got the chassis snapped back together, so all that's left is just to reassemble, and we'll do a test. I decided not to repaint this. There's just a little damage here, but I mean, it's an old radio. People will understand. I did glue the sticker back on with a little super glue. I think with this red and white, you know, it's going to look pretty good. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we're getting there, but we're close, but not quite there. I want to polish up some of this plastic a little bit, being careful about these numbers that are imprinted on top. It's just a little scratchy. I also want to use some polish on these knobs to bring back that brass. This is not the original. This is, I had to find the knob that looked believable, which I think it does. But it's not going to look believable until these match, so I need to buff these out. Excuse me. Whew, I'm drinking Sierra Nevada. Anyway, once that's done, we'll put it back together. We'll give it a test fire, make sure it runs for a little while and doesn't burn up, explode, or do anything else heinous, and then we'll call it a day. This thing will be done. All right, so she is done. I did polish up the knobs and the plastic for the dial. It looks a lot better now. Anyway, I've got my audio running through it, my little Bluetooth thing. Gotta tell you, man, like usually most like shitty plastic American sets from this era they sound like crap. Like total crap. They're like kitchen radios, but this one I'm kind of blown away by it, really. Yeah, good sound. Anyway, I'm kind of glad I was able to bring this one back from being a really dull looking radio to something that has a little more character. This is going to go to our next show. We have one coming up in July. So this one and that one and a whole bunch of others are going to go to the July 3rd show, Alameda Antiques Fair. So if you're in the area, we'll be there with about 75 pieces. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, you can always leave them in the comments section down below. I'll try to get to them. I've got some stuff going on right now that requires my attention, so I'm not as attendant. So don't take it personally. But until the next time a radio comes across my workbench, I'll see you guys next time. Adios.